we've brought in awesome guests. So who is next up on our plate here?
All right. Well, I hope you guys all enjoyed that display of blowing my nose. I didn't realize I was live. But another no-brainer for our guest today is another Bikini International champion. She's also a Olympia champion. She is a fan favorite. Her personality is just infectious. Everybody loves her. She's always available to help people. I had the privilege of seeing her and meeting her at the women's workshop that we just had in Arizona at the Wings of Strength headquarters. And it is such an honor to have this next guest, Jennifer Dorie, who is also in the running to win the Bikini International Championship title once again. And we are so happy to have you. So welcome aboard, Jen Dorie.
Welcome. Hi, Jen.
Hello.
Hi,
guys. So good to see you both.
Nice to meet you, Jen. Thanks for joining the 𝗦𝗽cie Brand Show.
Of course. Thank you guys so much for having me on. Great to meet you.
Yes.
And hi, Wendy.
You guys just got to spend some time together. It's been a few weeks, right?
It has. It's been about a month. Month today, I think.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
They're in Arizona. That's been really awesome to see all the women. And of course, I know the guys are doing their thing, but all the women to be able to come together and have a place to connect and get to know one another and then to share so much across the internet. Right.
Yeah, it really was. It was just so much female empowerment in that room. Just every single person there was just wanting to help, and everyone else there wanted to learn. So, we had the best of the best there, and led by Sandy Williamson. She is just incredible. So she always does a great job.
I know.
Is that something that people can go back and watch? Was it recorded and go back and watch, other than like interviews? But you're saying there was a workshop there, right?
Yeah, you can still go and watch it for free on Muscle and Fitness Plus. So plus.muscleandfitness.com, I think, and you can go and you can download it for free. Yeah.
Okay. And was it like a training and posing seminar?
It was mostly posing. Yeah.
Mostly like posing, and then just kind of like all things competing, talking about the different posing for each division, talking about criteria, talking about myths and do's and don'ts, and kind of just sharing experiences, I guess, that we've all learned along the way.
Yeah. What's one of the biggest don'ts?
I think that the biggest thing for people to focus on is just don't focus on other people. That's probably the number one.
I like that.
Because I think it's so easy, especially, at any stage in your journey, but especially when you get started, to see people who are at the top, or even people who you're competing next to, and to look at them and compare yourself. But you're your own person. You're going to have your own strengths, your own weaknesses, and you have to be able to embrace those and not get caught up in the other person. Because if you stay in your own lane, you'll get there faster than if you're trying to run your race and you're looking this way, because you're going to trip and fall. You just have to keep your blinders on, focus on you. Your journey is going to be so different than the person next to you and the person next to them.
Yeah. That actually, going back to your journey, because I got to meet you and hang out with you a little bit, but I don't actually know exactly where everything started for you. So how, hearing your words of wisdom now, what was your journey like when you first got started, and what got you going into the sport in the first place?
Who was young Jennifer?
So I first started competing. I actually did my first show when I had turned 18. I did not play any sports growing up.
When was that? I'm not trying to age you, but when was that?
2015. I'm 26 now. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I was growing up, I was like a chubby kid growing up. I was not like, I was always super self-conscious of like my shape, my body image, my weight, stuff like that.
Really?
And I have a twin sister, and she was always like in such good shape. And I was like, this is so not fair. Like, how come you look so skinny and I'm not? Like, cause I would always just compare us. And I didn't like sports. I just wasn't into it. I love school. I love learning. I'm a nerd at heart. So, I got into the gym when I was about 16. Just when I was in high school, I just started going to the gym after school, and it kind of just became like a social thing where I just really enjoyed the environment. I made a lot of awesome friends there. My very first gym was just like one of the best environments. And it was just every day after school, my sister and I would like eat a bunch of like protein pancakes. We would put a protein powder and pancake mix. It was not healthy. Just go train. And honestly, I would just go on bodybuilding.com. I would research. Dana Lynn Bailey was my ultimate inspiration. I would follow all her workouts, I would print it out and go to the gym. And I was just having fun with it, really, and just meeting people and having that social time at the gym, because when you do have that kind of fitness group there, it's nice to see the same people who all go at the same time.
Right.
And then I just started to see my body kind of change, and I was like, oh, this is fun. I just kept going. And one day someone who was the men's physique competitor at the time had came up to me and was like, what are you training for? Like, you're here every day, you train so hard. Like, what's your goal? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I'm just here to train. It's just fun for me. And he was like, well, why don't you do like a fitness competition? I had
Was that Mark Anthony?
No, it wasn't. Until like 3 years later. He was his name is Cosmo, actually, and he was at my local gym, one of my friends there. And he kind of introduced me to the world of competing, was like, look it up, like maybe it's something you want to do. But at the time you did have to be 18, and I think I had just turned 17. Okay. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to train as if I'm going to compete. So when I turn 18, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And at the time I was in university and working. So it was a lot that I was kind of juggling with, like a very full schedule, but I just made it work because that's kind of what I wanted to do. And yeah, I just trained as if I was going to compete. I had a local coach who was helping me. And then I did my first show. I won my first show. I won the overall. I won a sponsorship with the company as well. And then I did another show. I won the overall there. Did another show. I won the overall. And I kind of just kept, winning all these shows. So I was like, I guess I'm good at this. Maybe I should just keep going. I think it was 4 shows in a row that I had won that season. And then I went to nationals that year, and I was first call outs, but I was 6th, and I was devastated. I was so crushed because
your first time not winning.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 18. I just started this, and I'm like, wow, I'm so good. You feel like you're on top of the world, and I'm so used to being in that center spot where all the judges' eyes are just on me. And here I was on the end, and I'm like, they're not looking at me, like, and I played 6th. So that was probably one of the best things to happen, though, because from every loss, you learn so much and you grow so much as a person, as an athlete, and really those little losses along the way are what creates a true champion. If it wasn't for those losses, you wouldn't have built up that resilience to keep coming back and come back with a drive to be so much hungrier. So I was like, you know what, I'm taking time off, and I'm going to come back next year for nationals and be undeniable. So I came back next year for nationals. I won my class, and 𝗦𝗫cieះ𝗀𝗱, she won the overall that year. So I missed overall. Yeah. So we've been competing together.
Started.
Yeah. And so in Canada at the time, they only had 1 pro card per year that they gave out.
That's been going on a long time.
Yes.
Poor Canadians. I feel bad.
I know, but it's kind of cool though, because if you look at like the Canadians who are coming up, like, you have the 𝗦𝗫cie, you have the me, you have the Chris Bumstead, and all these people who are like top tier competitors, because it was so hard to get your pro card. But when you did, like, you had to do like a regional, then you had to do a provincial, then you had to win the national. Only 1 person per like 300 athletes. So 𝗦𝗫cie won it that year. I took another year off, came back, and I was like, I want it to be unanimous. I step on stage and they know I'm the winner. And that's what I did the next year. And then I won. And actually one of the judges had told me, once you stepped on stage, we were like, we don't need to say anyone else. Like, it was unanimous that you had won. And I was like, I actually wrote that down on like a vision board of mine. So to hear someone say that, it was just really full circle for me. So I won 2017. I won my pro card. And then I jumped into the pro league in 2018. And I did end up qualifying for the Olympia my first year in 2018. I placed 10th. And then I qualified on points because I didn't win a show. So I've always placed top 3 as a pro, but I didn't win my first pro show until I think it was my 3rd year as a pro.
Okay.
Yeah, my 3rd year as a pro, but I had been to the Olympia, on points. So I placed 10th my first Olympia. And then I placed 5th my next Olympia. And then I placed 2nd. And then I won the Olympia. And I had also won the Arnold 2 weeks prior to that Olympia. And then this past Olympia, I just placed 2nd. So
Now, how many shows have you done altogether now?
Oh my gosh, I'd have to count. Definitely a lot. I know, like, when I first started competing, I did like a string of 6 shows, and then I only really did that 1 national show a year because I knew how important it was to take time off to rest, and just for my body to be able to recover. Especially, I was so young that I had such baby muscle that in order to build that muscle maturity, I needed time. And then when I did turn pro and I did my pro debut, I think I did 5 or 6 shows that season. Same thing the next season. And then the next season, I think it was 2 or 3. And then last year was just the Olympia for me. So
yeah.
Quite a few.
I just have to, bye, Mom.
What point, like, when
Sorry,
after you
my mom's
turn
leaving.
pro,
No, you're good.
after you turn pro to the moment that you won your first, I'm gonna say your first Olympia title, at what point, and tell me how, I want to get inside the head of Jen Dorie. Like, when did it like hit you, like, I can win the Olympia? Like, how did that enter your mind, and where was that?
I love that question, because for me, I'm always super hard on myself. I think all of us are, and I'm always, like, never think that I'm good enough. So it's always, my husband is always like, you're the best in the world. You're going to win the Olympia, since the day he met me. And I'm like, you're just saying that, you're biased. He's like, I promise you're going to win the Olympia. Like, I'm not just saying this. And I was like, you're biased. You're just saying that. Like, so it took me a really long time, that's why I always preach that, like, don't try and rush your journey, because, like, you have to be ready, not just physically, but mentally, to be a champion, because there's also a lot of responsibility and weight that bears on your shoulders being a champion, and to be a good champion.
I'm sorry, what you just said was so impactful. You need to say that again. Don't rush
your
journey. Because you have to be mature, not just physically. A lot of times people talk just so much about the physical,
it's up here,
right? To be able to handle having that title and what that means, what happens when you win the title, what happens next. That's a big piece of the puzzle that people don't get. I mean, it's just kind of like when you first start competing. I mean to cut you off, but I wanted to make sure we got back to that spot. But when you start competing, back in the day, I don't know if it may be different now, but people didn't talk about the post contest. Like, what happens to the physique, what happens to your brain, like, after your show, because it's so much leading up to it, the day of, and then afterwards. In the old days anyways, people were just kind of left high and dry, and they're like, didn't know what to do, right? Unless you had another show and you start prepping. But a lot of times people didn't go that route too, so the post show was so hard. But that mental piece is so important, and I love what you just said, and I had to stop you so that we could repeat that, because that's important piece.
It is really, like, don't rush your journey. And I always tell people, like, just try and embrace every single moment that you're in, because you're never going to have this moment again. Like, right now, right here is all you're ever going to have. So if you live in the past, you live in the future, you miss out on so much that you could be enjoying right now. And embrace the suffering, embrace the struggle, embrace the hard times and the good times, because then when you do succeed and you do reach that pinnacle of your career, whatever that might be, you'll be so much more grateful, and it's that much more gratifying to look back knowing that, you really went through all of these things to get there, and you weren't just trying to fast forward to the outcome, because it's not all about the outcome. I know, like Kobe Bryant always says, like, the dream is really the journey. It's not reaching it. It's everything leading up to it. And I really believe in that, because, having won the Olympia, I can say that, like, the people that you meet, the memories that you make, the experiences you get to experience, and the opportunities, and all the struggles and hardships that lead up to that, that's what makes it so meaningful. That's why, for those who don't really know the sport, that's why you see us start bawling our eyes out on stage when we win, because it's just such an emotional moment, that there's just so much emotions that you're filled with, just really, like, you're just grateful to be there. And it's like a relief almost, because you worked so hard to get there, and you're just usually so proud of yourself for how much you had to do to reach that level.
It's almost like after you win, it's almost like it's like a reigning Miss USA or Miss Universe. You really do have a responsibility. Monica knows what this feels like. You know what this feels like. I've never experienced this before. I have found my place in this sport in other ways. I've never won an Olympia title, but
you still do a great job being an ambassador for the sport.
You do.
You really do.
But the thing is like, when it comes to the Olympia champion, the only requirement is to be the best body in the world. You don't necessarily know what you're getting in terms of the ambassador part of it, So one thing that I was really excited about with you, getting to know you a little bit more after you won the title, just seeing what you did with that title and how you were such a great like light for the sport and for the division. It was one of the things that caused so many people to continue rooting for you and wanting you to win that title back, because you realize what you're getting with this person. When somebody wins a title, same thing with Monica. It's like Monica won Fitness Olympia in 1998. And it's like everybody kept wanting Monica to win another Olympia because it was like what she did for the sport and for the industry. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why so many people are continuing to root for you and wanting you to win this title and the Olympia title again. So what's going through your mind? Like, what is your game plan? How do you plan to gain your titles back? Because we want you to get these titles. Selfishly, we want you to get these titles back.
Selfishly, I want to get the titles back too.
Yeah,
so thank you guys. I think that, you know, and like I said, every part of your journey is there for a reason. And as much as you might not understand it at the moment, you might, you know, get upset about it, whatever it might be. We're human, you know, we're allowed to feel those emotions. And anyone who's a top competitor, you should be going into a show wanting to win, not expecting to win, but wanting to win. If not, you might as well just not go, because you're shortchanging yourself. You know, that's truly what I believe. And if you go to if you go to the Olympia and you know that you're a top competitor, and of course, that's being realistic. My first Olympia, I didn't go there thinking I was going to win. But if you're a top competitor, you know you're bringing your best, you should go there wanting to win. So it's okay to be disappointed when you don't win, but never take away from the person who does win. I think that's really important too. Just a true champion knows how to win and knows how to lose with the same amount of class and grace and dignity. And that doesn't change, you know. Mm-hmm. And if you lose, it's fine. You take it with a smile, you dust yourself off, get up, get the feedback, you move forward, and life goes on. Tomorrow, the sun's going to shine again. You're going to keep moving forward, and it's not over until you choose it's over. So your story is never finished until you decide it's finished. So just because you lose or just because you fall down doesn't mean you can't get back up. As many times as that might happen, it might be once, it might be 10 times, but you just always have to get back up until you choose you're done with it. So for me, I'm back up, of course. And I'm excited to head into the Arnold. My feedback from Olympia, they wanted me to be a little bit fuller. So this year I did bring a much more conditioned look than I usually do, because I was asked to bring a little bit more conditioning, but they did want a little bit fuller. So with bikini, it's kind of that really fine line of walking like a tightrope of like conditioning and fullness, and you can't like veer too much on either side. So I'm excited to showcase this physique. It's definitely a fuller physique, a little bit rounder muscles, more of what my physique kind of tends to do best with that round bubbly muscle. Yeah, I'm excited. So it's really just me versus me. And I don't think of me competing against anyone else, because I'm only trying to live up to my own expectations. But I will say I'm very hard on myself. So I do put a lot of pressure on myself. I just said to my husband the other day, actually, I feel like mentally I have a lot of pressure on myself for this show, because I feel like I brought such an incredible look to the Olympia, and I set the standards so high for myself that I'm almost like, now I have to make sure I can jump that high again, and I have to reach that standard again. He's like, you will, you're just being really hard on yourself. So every time you show up and you set that bar here, you want to set it higher and higher every time. And that's really what makes you a champion and a true competitor, when you're always striving to be better and better. But it is a lot of pressure, you know, in your own head, and it's not pressure from anyone else. It's just, it's all here.
Can you share a little bit? Because I'm sure people are going to be curious. And I mean, I'm curious too. Like, what does your training split look like in general? And I'm sure it can, you know, change, you know, along the way here, but what's in general?
So right now my training split, I do shoulders twice a week. I do back once a week. And then I have 3 lower body days. So usually one of those is like a quad glute focus. One is a hamstring glute focus. And then one is just pure glutes.
Cool. You know, in the old days, it was like, you kind of thought if you trained one body part more than once a week, you could overtrain it or something. So it's interesting to hear, you know, 3 days a week of glutes.
Yeah. So I was doing about twice a week lower body, but because they did want me to bring a little bit fuller glutes, you know, I was like, okay, well, we'll just throw in a little bit more glute focus work, so that way I can keep my glutes nice and full, nice and pumped.
Do you change the actual exercises every time you do a glute workout, or is it the same exercises each time?
No, I tend to stick to similar things. I mean, within those 3 days, there's different exercises because I'm targeting, you know, more hamstrings one day, more quads one day.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's necessary to change your exercises every time because you're really not giving your body a chance to actually adapt and grow with those exercises. And you want to be able to progressively overload the muscle with the exercise that you're working on. So before you switch it up, make sure you master those workouts first. So
Right.
And what
I
are
think once you,
I'm sorry, what are your 3 favorite, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but what are your 3 favorite glute exercises?
Probably hip thrusts for sure. I mean, hip thrusts are great. Any type of lunge I really think does great for glutes. I think a lot of people leave that out for glutes, but a lunge movement is really awesome. And of course, like any type of kickback movement is going to be a great isolation for glutes. And I'm going to throw one extra in there and say reverse hypers.
Yeah, gotcha. Cool.
That also goes along with, like, to backtrack a little bit, you
Mhm.
know, you're saying that you're hard on yourself. And I mean, as a coach, I hear a lot of athletes say this, right? But
Mhm.
the ones that are the champions are the ones that say it at the right time. And what I mean by that is, like, I hear people say they're so hard on themselves. Everyone is so hard on themselves the day of the show, right? You could put in no work, but then the day of the show comes up and you're like, I'm so hard on myself. Well, the time to be hard on yourself is
not then.
after the show, right? Because when you could do something about it.
Mhm.
And that's one thing that really stood out to me when you were talking about, and you're talking about the exercises, and you're committed to, you know, your process and your commitment. And like, that's when you're thinking about being hard on yourself.
Yes.
And then it's almost like the people that are hard on themselves in the right, you know, when they have control over it, the day of the show, you're like, well, whatever happens,
Yes.
is the way it will be, right?
Mhm.
And the ones that didn't do the work, it seems like they're the ones on the day of the show that are like, I'm so hard on myself.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, when the day of the show comes, there's no reason to be nervous. I mean, there's going to be some nerves which you can channel into adrenaline and just positive energy. And like you want to have some type of adrenaline and nerves so you can have that energy when you go out on stage to perform. But it doesn't have to be nerves, or it could be like an anxious excitement, but it doesn't have to be nerves, because if you know you've prepared for that moment, there's nothing left to do. Like the work is done at that point. When you're standing backstage, you're not going to fix or change anything at that point. So you might as well just go out there and perform. And whether you're off or on, if you perform, you're going to take a lot of those eyes off anything that you might be off, even if you are off. So if you feel like you're a little bit behind or whatever it might be, it doesn't matter. Go out there and perform. If you go to a concert and your favorite singer, your favorite artist is, maybe their voice is a little bit cracky that night, they have something going on, but they put on like one heck of a performance, you don't even notice that it's a little bit off, right? So if you can go out there and you can perform, you can really just still bring your best to the stage, even if you feel like you're a little bit off and you wish that you had done more. Take that, learn for next prep that you know you want to prepare ahead of time, but don't let it get into your head so much that you don't show up on stage.
I feel so motivated right now.
I know. Yeah, let's go compete.
Let's go.
Ready to go.
So leading up to the Arnold, we're so close now.
Mhm.
What does your journey look like this next week or so? Like, just, you know, when do you get there? Are you going, or who's traveling with you? And what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to be flying into Pittsburgh first. I'm going to be doing my road to Columbus with JM. And that's like a tradition. I always do my road to the Arnold or road to Olympia. I'll be stopping in there on Saturday. I fly out. And then Sunday, I fly into Columbus. So I'll be there about a week early. That way I have plenty of time to just get acclimated. Different climate, very different than the desert here in Vegas. Different time zone too. And I just like to get settled early. I'm like very OCD and type A. So I want everything to be like lined up. Like I want to know the gym that I'm training at. I want to get onto a normal schedule with my meals, with my wake up time, especially because I'm on Pacific time here. So when I go to another coast and it's, you have makeup at like 5 a.m. and it's like 2 a.m. your time, you want to make sure that you've adjusted prior to that.
That's awesome. That's very smart. That's very smart. Are you staying at the hotel all the way up, or are you staying in a, yeah.
I know some people like to do an Airbnb. My husband and I had talked. My husband's coming with me, of course. I mean, he is always there with me from beginning to end. Since the day I met him, he's been at every show with me. So he actually has to make quite the trip. He actually has to fly back to Vegas on Thursday and then back on, I think he gets there at like 1 a.m. on show day.
Quick fun fact, Monica, her husband, Mark Anthony, was the first ever men's physique Olympia champion, right?
Okay, that name sounded familiar.
I'm accurate on that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I wonder he gets it. He's so
he gets it.
Yeah,
he does. He gets it. He's super supportive. And I mean, I couldn't do it without him because he's always right there by my side, my biggest fan, my biggest supporter, my biggest anything.
You guys are so cute.
He's got me. Thank you. Yeah, I'm very grateful. I'm very blessed. But yeah, we get there a week early just to get settled and everything. And we're going to stay in the host hotel just because it's easier when the end of the week comes and you have all your athlete meeting, the meet and greet and everything there. And I just cook my food and I bring it with me, or I get MegaFit meals to deliver it to me. I just don't like to get settled in one place and have to move somewhere else.
Yeah.
No, you want the least amount of issues and having to do extra work, right? So speaking of sponsor, what sponsors do you have? And will you be at any booths at the Arnold? Are you doing anything that fans can come meet you?
Yes.
Other than I know the Meet the Arnold.
Yeah. So
Meet
the athletes. Yeah. So I will be at Meet the Athletes. So hopefully I'll get to see all you guys who are watching there. It's always so much fun. And I always leave any of the meet and greet events with the most grateful, full heart. And I go back to my room and I'm just like overwhelmed with just so much gratitude for how many people I get to impact and inspire and how many people come and share their story with me and are rooting for me. So it really means a lot to me for all of you guys who come out to those events. I will be on Sunday at the expo. I'll be at the Toxic Angels booth and I might pop by Wolfpack as well. A couple of my other sponsors aren't going to be there, but I will be at Toxic Angels booth at 1:30 on Sunday.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So they're still doing, I guess they're still doing 3 days at the Arnold, right?
I think, is it Friday too? Yeah, I think so. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Awesome. And how many times have you been to the Arnold now?
So this will be my third time going and compete. Actually, no, I went last year when I didn't compete. So this will be my third time competing. My first time was in 2019 and I placed fourth. And then 2021 is when I won. And then this is my return. So I actually didn't defend my title last year. I chose to take an off season because I wanted to give my body the rest and time to improve. So I'm excited to be back. I haven't been back since 2021 when I won. So the goal is to be two-time.
That's awesome. Can you imagine? Can you look forward like 15, 20 years and think that you could still be going to the Arnold that many years?
Oh, of course. I think it's so much fun to go to the Olympia and the Arnold, whether you're competing in it or not. It's just so much fun to go and watch. And I remember last year I was there and I was just watching and I got to do interviews for NBC News Online. And I left that show and I was in the middle of my off season. I was like, okay, on it. And from that point on, yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying from that point on, I was super diligent with my off season, making every single day count. Cause you have so much motivation when you see, up close how incredible all these ladies look. And of course I compete with them, but at the same time, I'm still a fan of the sport and a fan of all these women because I know how hard they work to get up there.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say is that Ashley, and Laura Lee are all defending champions.
Yeah, that's so exciting.
And you all are such sweethearts. And I know, probably everyone is all three of your fans, I'm sure. Yeah. So it's like you guys are all just such great ambassadors for the sport. So I think that the three of you are the only champions of the Bikini International in the lineup, right? Yeah.
So we did have India, but I think she did drop out. So I think it's just Ashley, Laura Lee, and myself. And then of course we have our new Miss Bikini Olympia, Maureen.
Right.
Too, so.
She's amazing too. It's going to be, this is definitly an amazing lineup. It is.
It's like an Olympia all over again. So it's going to
be how far before the Olympia, or did you learn about the Arnold after the Olympia? What about the invite? When did that come in for you?
So they actually sent us the invites about 8 weeks out of the Arnold. So it was a couple weeks after the Olympia that they let us know. And it was about 8 weeks out that they let us know. So it was a little short on time, but yeah.
Did you get any downtime for Christmas that you
I did
focus and just enjoy the holiday and with husband and family?
I did. So my mom and my sister actually flew in from Canada to come here. So I was like, no matter what, whether I'm doing the Arnold or not, I need those 2 weeks of just family time to enjoy myself. And I was like, Plus I have to come in fuller, so a little bit of food isn't going to hurt me. So, and Sandy was big on like, enjoy the holidays. And I was like, of course. So I think it's important to have that balance and be able to make time for your family and friends too, because when it is over with competing, you still want to have those relationships, and you can't just push them aside and neglect them while you're prepping.
Now, are you still working with the same coach? Is it the Cosmo? Is that who you talked about?
No, so he was just a friend of mine.
My
husband and I do my coaching together. Yeah.
Your husband helps you.
It was us too.
Okay. That's awesome. You know, some of the wellness girls were talking about their husbands helping them too. And and then a couple of them were like, nope, not going to have that. But it's so great when it works, like Matt and Wendy, like when it works, it's so beautiful because if you can make it work, like it just seems like it's so streamlined. And if you can kind of take maybe the husband wife cap off when it needs to be, and it's just like coach athlete, and we're bringing it in, but that's so fun.
Or put it back on when you need to put it back on.
Yeah, like you have to know how to separate it, you know, and you have to both be able to take the emotions out of it. And like sometimes Mark would be like, you know, I want to say something, but I want to hurt your feelings. And I was like, look, I'd rather have my feelings hurt now than go on stage and have my feelings hurt on stage. So you cannot hurt my feelings more than you could by letting me go on stage not looking right. So hurt my feelings now, spare me later. So that's kind of what we do. And, you know, we always bounce things back and forth. We're like, I'm hard on myself. So to be honest, before anyone else could hurt my feelings, I'll probably hurt my own. So I'll bring it up before he even does. And then we kind of bounce it back and forth.
And I want to know, because the posing for bikini has really evolved over all these years. And I want to know, was that something that came natural for you, or did you need some coaching through that? And how did that become more comfortable for you?
Yeah, so I used to really, really dislike the posing, especially the individual posing, because I'm just not like a very loud or like center of attention person. So for me, like it was just like I would downplay it and I was shy. My husband was always like, you need to like come out of your shell more on stage, like, you know, like flaunt it more, be sassier, be sexier on stage. And I was just so like shy, and I hated the individual posing. And then I just kind of learn to like love it, because I was like, you know what, I'm going to have to do it. I might as well just somehow learn to embrace it, learn to love it. And just the more that I continued to climb up, the more that I realized, like, why am I disliking this? This is my opportunity to show off all my hard work. So I really just reframe my perspective to just be present on the moment. Before I step on stage, I take a moment, and then I literally backstage, I'm like, I do this, put my smile on, and I step on stage and I perform. So I don't think of, you know, being me on stage. I think of being a performer on stage. And I think of, I'm like Dorie, IFBB Pro or Miss Olympia on stage, not just, you know, the Dorie that I am off stage, because obviously it's a different persona. So some people, it helps, you know, if you put on a performer mask and you step on stage with like whatever it might be that you have to think of. And I just try and think of, you know, being excited to step on stage, because if you know you're ready, you can't wait to get up on stage. That's how I felt this year for the Olympia. I just knew it was my best, and I just could not wait. I had to wait because I was the last one to go on, and I was like sitting there anxiously, like I was like, I can't wait to go on stage. And I really just I just say a prayer before I go on stage, and I just always like thank God for the opportunity to be there and to just give me the courage to present my best on stage and be present in the moment and just enjoy myself, because I know like when that heel hits the stage for the first time, it's all the nerves go away. The nerves are just when you walk up the steps initially, and once your heel hits that stage, you're good.
Isn't that crazy? It's so funny. Once the heel
now heel hits the stage.
Yeah, was the Olympia? I heard the Olympia stage had a little bit different flooring on it.
Oh, yes.
For the fitness girls, it probably made heels a lot tougher to move.
It was tough. Yeah. So they did have a carpeted stage. The prejudging one wasn't too bad because it wasn't super thick. For finals, though, we didn't know until we stepped on stage when we did like our comparisons. So we all walked out, and it was about this thick plush. It was almost like walking on a mattress. That was like,
you did that for the fitness girls.
Yeah, so we had like our heels, right? And we're walking out, and all of us, the top 10 who had done their comparisons, we turned around, and I know like Janet, Maureen, and I looked at each other. We were like, oh my gosh, like, did you guys feel that stage? And we were like, how are we going to do our routine on there? And everyone was like, ooh. We were all trying to be really careful, but we all made it.
It just seems like they've got, I mean, for them not to tell you and give you a chance to even have some of the padding backstage so you could step on it backstage and
Oh
feel it.
yeah.
I mean, they've got
It
to
was
figure
plush.
that out. I mean,
Like,
after all these years, after all these years,
yeah.
I mean, really, I mean, we used to, in the beginning of fitness days, you know, we did our 2-piece barefoot.
Yeah.
And then we would come out in our 1-piece, you know, for awards or whatever, in heels. But it just seems like after all these years, like literally all these years, they could figure something out different or
Monica, maybe they should have let them do their routines barefoot.
I know, right?
Wouldn't that have been cool?
But you know what? That's just kind of like it. That's just like
beautiful.
one of the things that happens in life. Like there's always going to be something that gets thrown at you, and you just have to like take it, wing it, smile on your face, and act like it's not bothering you, and just
take it, wing it, smile on your face. I like that.
I love it. I think it's just
smile on your face.
Thankfully, nobody, you know, actually twisted an ankle or something walking in those heels on a squishy floor like that, and trying to turn, and then you're trying to perform like that's not, you know. It seems like it should have at least told you guys and said, hey, here's some.
Yeah, we had no idea until we stepped. We were like,
you know,
in that case, twist it, wing it, smile on your face.
You know it. That's exactly what we did. You just had to walk a little bit slower.
Taking your heels off and stayed on your tippy toes.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Well, is there anything that you would like to share with audience? Maybe how people can get hold of you? Is there anything are you coaching anyone right now?
Yeah, so I do online coaching for lifestyle or for competitors. And I do have a link in my bio to fill out an application for that. You guys can find me on Instagram, _Dorie_IBB Pro. You can follow along my YouTube, Dorie IBB Pro as well. And I try and share as much as I can of my day in the lives, on season, off season, and just any little tips and tricks, and just keeping it real with, you know, the ins and outs, not just the highs, but also the lows and the tough days in prep, because I think some people don't always share all of that. And even in your off season, you know, being transparent about like, what does an off season look like for a top competitor? Because, you know, we're not shredded year round. And I know some people don't like to show that. They try and hide because they feel like shameful about it. So I'm always, you know, big on like embracing wherever you are, like own it, love it, embrace it, whether you're 20 pounds up, whether you're 2 pounds up, whether you're stage weight, it doesn't matter where you are, just embrace where you are right now. Keep working to where you want to be, but just embrace it and own it where you are right now.
Own it, love it, smile on your face.
Exactly.
How do you feel, Jennifer, about all the social media? Does that something that you enjoy, or do you kind of get tired of it, having to document everything?
I think there's two sides to it. One, I think social media is incredible just for, you know, the fact that we can build our brand online, and like a lot of us can monetize off our social media and work with these brands is incredible to be able to make a living off of social media, but also just the amount of people the magnitude of people that we can impact and reach with social media is just amazing to me. You know, people all across the world that we get to connect with and interact with, and who get to follow our journeys and we get to follow theirs, I think is so incredible, because it just opens up the door for so many different things, having a platform where you can reach so many people. Of course, there's those days where you're tired and you don't want to do it, but, you know, I just get so much support on my Instagram. And, you know, on those days that I'm tired is usually when I get the most inspiring, amazing messages. And I don't think people realize how impactful that really is when you reach out to someone who inspires you and you let them know that, or you comment on their pictures, and all those little things, they really do add up. So I'm always grateful for it.
That's awesome. So those the two sides?
Those are the two sides.
Yep. So you don't ever get tired of having to put your product out?
Not really. I mean,
not yet.
Maybe someday when I'm tired, but like not really too much, just because anything that I do promote or talk about on my social media platforms, it's always genuine. You know, I will.
You are very genuine.
Anything. Like I've turned down a lot of contracts, a lot of like very big contracts, just because it's not a product that I believe in, or I don't align well with the core values of the company or the people who own the company. So for me, it's not just like, do I love the product, but like, who are the people behind the company? What are their core values? What are the core values of the company? You know, and at the end of the day, a paycheck is not worth more than who I am as a person and my character. And, you know, my integrity is important. So
I'm really impressed with how mature you are for what you said, 26.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, you speak very educated and maturely, and I'm really impressed. I'm 52 now, so I can.
Oh, well, you look 26, so
Oh, well, I don't
you
know
look
about
incredible. Your skin is just so beautiful. You're beautiful.
Thank you. But it's so wonderful. And I said this to Ashley earlier, just I'm so excited to hear this level of, because I interviewed on Sunday 3 or 4 wellness, the international wellness competitors, and everyone, and then of course you two. I just love the maturity and the way you're talking about the industry, about your sport, your craft, how you're coming into this, the mental side of it. And I'm really impressed. So I keep saying that because I want you to just hear from someone who's been in this industry since 1991 and has seen so much. And I love that there's so many wonderful people. Of course, Wendy, I love you. And I think the same, so highly of Wendy and who you are and how you represent. I just love that we have so much great athletes representing our industry. And I say our,
you paved the way, Monica. You paved the way for all of us.
Well, thank you. But it's fun to hear this, because if you don't have these kind of opportunities to hear, talk, and ask questions, then you just don't understand the level of maturity or the level of the person. And I'm just really impressed. So Jennifer, just thank you so much for taking time, because I know every minute counts, and you right now need every minute to count towards what you're doing. So it's really a special treat for us to have you on here and getting to share your wisdom. And just, again, I'm impressed. And
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on for the girl chat. It was fun.
Oh, it has been so awesome. I love getting to know you even a little bit more. It's always a gift. You're awesome.
Thank you.
I'm a best of skill. I'm not a luck person. So best of skill. I know you're bringing your best to the show. Much. And God bless you and your travels. And may he just give you peace and safety all the way through. And just lots of success. I mean, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for everyone. I'm like, everyone should. I mean, everyone wins, but man,
I'm rooting for Jen. I really
love you, girl. Are you guys both going to be there?
I won't be there. I'm actually going to Arizona. I'm showing a horse for this. It's at the same timing.
Oh,
so I'm excited. Yeah,
I'll be watching, but not there physically.
Okay.
Yeah.
At least you'll be watching. I'll feel your energy.
You'll feel the energy, I promise.
I know you've got high energy, so I'll feel it from anywhere.
We will.
All right, Jennifer. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you again for joining the Monica Brant Show.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. I'll see you soon.
Oh my goodness. I'm so impressed, Wendy, with these women, and and it does kind of lead back to my wellness interviews, and even Samson, because he had quite the story of how he got into this kind of like just nonchalantly, and he's a contender to win the Arnold this year. And I'm just really thankful that we have such great representation for this industry, because you don't know unless you just look at somebody and you don't know the level of their mental and what's going on in there. And that's awesome that's what's leading in our community.
I know. You see some trends with the champions,
Hey guys, if you've enjoyed the Monica Brant Show, don't forget to subscribe, ring that bell, and if you have any ideas or suggestions for the show, comment below and I'm happy to get back to you.